Welcome to Fortune Cookies Tarot, and this is the Forebears table. It's a really cool series that I just developed after the King Charles III speech at the state dinner, at which he was hosting the President and the First Lady of the United States. I want to draw your attention to what is around me. This is the Sons of Liberty flag. It was established in 1765. It represents the original 9 stripes for the 9 colonies that contained the Stamped Act Congress of 1765. After the Repeal Act in 1766, the flag became associated with the Sons of Liberty and became known to the British as the Rebellious Stripes. The Sons reached their zenith of influence with the Boston Tea Party on December 16, 1773, after which the 9 colonies were joined by the rest. So I watched the speech of King Charles, and he posed this amazing question, and it appealed to my love of history and my love of divination. He said, with the rich relationship between the United States and Great Britain, what would our forebears think of it today? And I thought this gave us a really great opportunity to explore what some of the energies were between some of the opposing or agreeing forces during the Revolutionary War here in the United States. We certainly live in revolutionary times right now. Lots of changes in political structures, social structures, and the way that people think. And I'd like to take a dive back in time and see what those forefathers in our country and the establishment in the United Kingdom would think of what's going on today. So we have some fun music going on behind, some revolutionary, exciting American music. And I hope that this is going to come out as good as I expect it to. So welcome to the Forebears at the table. It's a 4-part historical deep dive with a dash of divination. And in each episode, we're going to see a leading American voice from across the British counterpart. Sometimes these are going to be fierce rivals, and sometimes they're going to be surprising allies. So buckle up, because it's going to be really fun. And we're going to explore how their choices forged war, peace, and eventually a partnership that brought us to today. So we'll look at how grievances escalated in the revolution, where diplomacy almost saved the relationship and why it failed, and what these figures might say about the modern United States-United Kingdom alliance. So to my American patriots and our friends and allies across the world, pull up a chair, whether you come for history, strategy, or the spiritual weather behind these big moments. The series is going to be really fun. So I'll give you documented context and turning points, and I'll weave in some tarot and Lenormand polls as a reflective lens. This isn't to replace history, but to read the energies that move the people at the time. You can also see I did a couple of years ago, what would the founding fathers think during one of our election cycles, and there is a playlist. I will probably add this into that playlist. So tonight, we are going to look at Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Wedderburn. So they were rivals in the American Revolution, and we are going to pull up that card view. So as you enjoy the lovely tunes of Kevin MacLeod in the back, I want you to hit that like button, and we're going to bring up that card view. I'm going to make this nice and big so you guys can see it as big and bold as the American Revolution. Maybe not as big as bold. There we go, guys. All right, so this is the view we're going to be using. So let's look at Benjamin Franklin's energy today. Benjamin Franklin's energy tonight. Oh, he is a little bit anxious about what I'm about to do. Benjamin Franklin was a very curious character in American history. He was kind of the wild man of the American Revolution. He liked to drink. He like the ladies. But he did have some interesting perspectives. From my own knowledge, he was an advocate for the turkey as the American bird, the national bird, because he did think that they were resilient and exciting. Also, I do think he was one of the counterparts who did want German as the national language here. Wedderburn's energy tonight, not injury. He is pretty joyous. I think maybe he's happy that this American is going to give him a platform to talk about what's going on. So let's talk a little bit about Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Wedderburn. And the day a blistering speech in London turned a loyal colonial agent toward revolution. So the letters that lit the fuse. Picture London, early 1770s. Benjamin Franklin, London, still hoping Britain and America can reconcile. Then he obtains private letters written by Thomas Hutchinson, governor of Massachusetts, and Andrew Oliver, the lieutenant governor. The letters downplay colonial rights and recommend tighter imperial control. Franklin forwards copies to Thomas Cushing, who's the Speaker of the Massachusetts Assembly, with strict instructions: circulate discreetly, do not publish. By June 1773, the letters explode into Boston's public sphere anyway, and patriots seizing on a chilling line, often quoted as saying there must be an abridgment of what are called English liberties. Outrage surges at this. In the background, accusations swirl over who leaked the letters. There's even a duel in London between William Whately and John Temple. On December 25th, 1773, Franklin steps forward and publicly admits that he forwarded the letters. He says to stop the rumors and refocus blame on the officials who misrepresented the colonists. Meanwhile, Boston is already aflame. The Tea Party hits December 16th, 1773. For those of you that are unaware, this was a widespread, I shouldn't say widespread, it was a protest in which they were fighting, the colonists were fighting against the taxes on tea, and they dumped the tea into the Boston Harbor. And this is part of the reason why Americans are coffee drinkers and not tea drinkers traditionally. When the news crosses the Atlantic in January, Westminster is in a mood to make an example, and the stage is set for a dramatic hearing at Whitehall. So let's look at the paper trail. So the source motive, what drove Hutchinson, Oliver to write as they did? Protection of their own beginnings here. They really did want to protect what they were starting, their power structures in the New World, in the colony. So that is really it. So messenger motive. What was Franklin, Ben Franklin? He is one of my favorite founding fathers. What was Ben Franklin's true intention in forwarding the letters? What was his true intention forwarding those letters? To disrupt the hierarchy. You all that follow me know that with the Hierophant, I always talk about the seats of power. This was to disrupt those seats of power and to get to work building a new country. Unintended consequences. What the leak set in motion? I think we all kind of know this one. What did the leak set in motion? Establishing a new order, establishing a new nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Had to do that. So, the cockpit, a public humiliation. So, we're going to talk about what the cockpit was. On January 29, 1774, the Privy Council chamber, also known as the cockpit, that the Privy Council convened in the chamber nicknamed the cockpit to consider Massachusetts' petition to remove Hutchinson and Oliver. The room is packed. Ministers, courtiers, scientists like Joseph Priestley, even a young Jeremy Bentham. Ben Franklin stands in a spotted Manchester velvet suit, silent and impassive. He was quite the character. Again, one of my favorite historical figures in America. Franklin's side argues narrowly that the officials have lost the people's confidence and to remove them for the king's own good. Then Alexander Wedderburn, the Crown Solicitor General, rises. For over an hour, he pivots from legal argument to oracle demolition. He paints Franklin as a deceitful instigator, the thief of private correspondence. Hugely the spark of revolution. The council chamber erupts with laughter and cheers at his barbs, and observers later compare the atmosphere to bull baiting. The petition is rejected. No relief for Massachusetts, only humiliation for Ben Franklin. Spectacle has replaced statesmanship. And while the room applauds Wedderburn's wit, a diplomatic bridge quietly burns. Now, this is a little shocking to me because Ben Franklin was quite the witticism. And I'm shocked that he did not respond in quarters. But what I can only imagine is that there was a burning revolutionary sense in him that he was going to bust out pretty soon. So Wedderburn's career rockets, and later Attorney General, Chief Justice of Common Pleas, then Lord Chancellor, as Baron Loughborough, I think I'm saying that wrong, ultimately the Earl of Roslin, the man who shredded Franklin, rises to the top of Britain's legal world. So let's take a look at that room. So the room, the crowd, the group mind, what was the collective in that moment toward Ben? What was the collective feeling in that moment toward Ben Franklin? That he was a disruptor and to move along. Really was not a good look for him. Ben Franklin, outer composure versus his inner resolve. What was he actually feeling? Again, he was quite ubiquitous. So I'm shocked that he wouldn't have barbs to deliver back. What was going on underneath? This is a revolutionary card. The Page of Wands in reverse is the spark that lights the powder keg. This was deep in his belly. He was getting ready to go. Wedderburn. So full of intellect and ambition, intention. He was directed like a laser at destroying Ben Franklin in that moment to annihilate the support for the ultimate revolution. How was he feeling in that moment? Cocky AF. There he is, the magician. He thought he had the backing of the crown. He had the support of the locals, and he was ready to go to town. So this is an undeniable power center. He thought he had spiritual, physical, rational power. So there we go. The council. What outcome did they really want? We're going to do 3 cards for this one. Oh, sticking with the crown. We're sticking with the crown. There it is. There it is. Those seats of power, kids. And I do think that they also did want to address the wrongdoing in the moment, which I do think falls squarely onto Ben Franklin. He was a disruptor, a rabble rouser. We're going to talk about rabble rousers in one of the later videos. The karmic result. Why is this humiliation? Why did this humiliation have to happen? Did it trigger a larger turn? Did this fire up the belly of Ben Franklin just a bit more? Looking back, temperance now is not the time to, this is single out. This is not the time to be temperate, to exhibit good manners. And maybe this is where Americans became so outspoken and so brusque in the way that they manage things. Maybe that's why this happened. Maybe we needed that fire in the belly of Ben Franklin, the Franklin stove. Maybe we needed that in order to spark off this revolution. The revolution really does come from the belly of Ben Franklin. Really, really cool. Neat, hanging out in the cockpit a little bit. So we're going to look at fallout of revolution and how it leads to today's special relationship. So 2 days after the hearing, January 31st, 1774, Franklin is dismissed as Deputy Postmaster General for North America. A significant post. He spends months settling accounts, and by March 1775, quits London entirely. That summer, on July 26, 1775, the Continental Congress appoints him the first U.S. Postmaster General. The man fired by the British system becomes the architect for Americans. So what did the cockpit accomplish? It hardened Americans' attitudes and narrowed Britain's options. Humiliation can win a room and lose a continent. So we're going to fast forward. In current times, go back, modern day, the United States and Britain become wartime allies. We have been allies since World War II, World War I. We can go back a little bit. We are intelligence partner and cultural cousins. The so-called special relationship between us is born out of this revolution. If Franklin and Wedderburn sat beside King Charles III at the state dinner today, Franklin might warn, never mistake cleverness for wisdom, while Wedderburn might counter that power without order is chaos. Their tension still lives inside democratic debate and diplomatic theater. So let's take a look at some of the consequences. Franklin's vow after the hearing. His vow was to craft, control, contribute to the new world, to a new land in which laws would be made for each and every one of us, and we would be given liberties that were not extended by the crown. The British establishment's blind spot was thinking that the empire could continue to exist in the new United States, in the colonies, while they were successful setting up outposts of the empire. This was one spot where they underestimated the drive and the chutzpah, I said it, of the colonists. Colonial mood post the letters was very, which way are we going to go? Are we going to fight uphill to a new land and a new way of living, or are we going to maintain the old and the expected, the status quo? What are we going to do? It won't be easy, but it could be really fun to move forward. Revolution. The path forward, the path toward the July 1775 appointment was, this is inspiring. What are Forebears blessed about today's alliance is that there is strength in diversity, that there is strength in our cultural differences, but not in our humanity. Our humanity remains the same. We are interested in the success and thriving of humanity. That culturally, we can be a little bit different. Americans, we're loud. We know it. We like our cheeseburger. So, political advice for our leaders now. Let's take a look at this. What is the political advice that Benjamin Franklin and Wedderburn have for our leaders today? What would they say if they had their moment to stand up at that dinner, what would Benjamin Franklin say to King Charles III and Donald Trump? Justice can be a two-way street. We can lean too heavily to one side or the other, and that we should rise above and consider all aspects of justice and fairness for all people. What else would he say? That it is together on both sides of the pond that we maintain the structures and sanctity of planet Earth, of our world, rising all ships with the tide. So what would Wedderburn have to say in front of King Charles and Donald Trump? That change should be greeted with sweetness. That this very Yeatsian, the center cannot hold, that sometimes evolution happens and we have to move along with that evolution, and we should greet that with a positive outlook and work with it, not against it. What else would he say? That even when the splitters split, that we should extend that love to them. So I'd be curious to ask what he thinks about the Commonwealth and some of the countries that are leaving the Commonwealth or suggesting that they will leave the Commonwealth. So pretty cool stuff. So this series is about bridges burned and rebuilt. To my American patriots and to our foreign friends and allies, thank you for pulling up a chair. Next time we sit down and we talk about this at the table, we're going to look at Thomas Paine and Edmund Burke. So radical fire versus pragmatic empathy. So drop your questions in the reading below. Drop your questions for that reading below. If you do have some, I'll take a look at them. I may pull a short clip for you. I may do some follow-ups on this. We may do a live to and talk about it. I hope you enjoyed tonight's blend of hard history and energetic insight. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the future.